Okay, good morning and welcome to Aired Out live from the basement again today. Hopefully not too much longer. There may be some things in the works to get us back into the studio a little sooner than what is originally planned. So we are looking forward to that for sure. Not that the basement's not an okay thing, but it's just not quite the same. With the dogs and family and this, that, and the other thing that happens here at home. So welcome and welcome to a morning with Thom Lauzon, just like every Wednesday that we can get you in here.
Well, thank you.
You're such a busy guy.
It's not my schedule. It's,
I know. Everybody else's. I know. It's crazy. It's crazy.
How you been?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah? Good week so far?
So far, so good.
Fantastic.
Can't complain. Last night, City Council.
Mm-hmm.
You guys, I mean, it was a quick meeting, really, actually.
It was...
but you got a lot done.
Well, it was a quick meeting, but we set the table for some important future discussions. I asked for an agenda item. We're clearly out of the response mode, and we're clearly in recovery and rebuilding modes. And so Montpelier has had some great citywide meetings, giving people an opportunity to come in and share ideas and talk about their experiences. And so great minds must think alike, because the city manager said he had been thinking along the same lines. And I said, look, I'd like to have meetings for our business, our businesses downtown, so a meeting that really focuses on the core downtown and what that might look like going forward, how our businesses are doing, what they need, what we could perhaps do better, and then have a similar meeting focusing on the city. And when you talk about the city, we really have to focus on the North End. Mm-hmm. The North End was absolutely the hardest hit residential area. There are damages elsewhere, and I'm certainly not minimizing. There are a number of homes that have been affected by landslides, and those will likely be condemned. Mm-hmm. But those are pockets throughout the city, and when we really look at, okay, well, what neighborhood was really affected, you really have to turn towards the North End, because it's important that we have those discussions now about what the North End. And it was I read the editorial in the Times-Argus this morning, and, I couldn't agree more. It can be both. Mm-hmm. It can be, the gateway to the city, and it could be a vibrant neighborhood. Right. But we've got to talk to the folks who live there.
And see what they want to do, too, and what their needs are.
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's their neighborhood, mm-hmm. But it's kind of interesting, because this is a bigger discussion. Absolutely, the discussion is about them. But, my neighborhood is going to outlast me. Your mm-hmm. neighborhood is going to outlast mm-hmm. you. It's really talking about, the decisions that we make in the next few years are really going to shape, the city for decades. Mm-hmm. And so it's important that we get those right. But I want to start talking about it. I want to start talking about the future and what the future of the North End might look like, what is best for the neighborhood, and honestly, how we can help. My biggest concern is always that folks don't have options. Mm-hmm. So they look at their home and they say, well, I can't, with the prices of homes today,
I can't do it.
My home is damaged. Mm-hmm. I'm going to get $30,000 from FEMA. That won't really put my home back together. It'll restore the furnace. It'll restore the electrical. It might make the inside look, but it won't restore it. It won't complete the job. But I can't afford to go buy a $350,000 home, and that's the average price of a home now. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to see people forced into a decision. I want to present them with options. And I think if we all work together and have good, thoughtful discussions, I think we can be successful.
So you feel like there are options?
Raylene, there are always options. I had a great conversation with Congresswoman Balint on Monday, and we had kind of this roundtable discussion, and it occurred to me that we always wait for developers. We mm-hmm. talk about developers. Well, the simple fact of the matter is that when you look at courting a developer may decide to invest his or her money or their money in Montpelier or Burlington versus Barre simply because the rents in Montpelier and Burlington are higher. Costs the same amount to build, absent land costs. Land costs could be a little higher in Montpelier and Burlington. But in terms of what it costs to build an 80-unit apartment building, cost is no different just because you're in Barre. It's the same in Montpelier, Waterbury, and Burlington.
It's
so
the
what we often find is that developers will pass Barre over, and they'll say, well, I'd rather invest here because I get a higher return on my money. Well, if that's the case, then why doesn't the city really step up in a big way in a public-private partnership? I mean, we're a municipality. Municipalities go on forever. And I don't see any reason why the city couldn't build buildings. I mean, we're just a big co-op.
Right.
Everybody has a stake. You know, if you think of the city, I realize people cringe sometimes when I say, look, it's just a business. You know, a city has all these shareholders. We're all shareholders. We're all paying property taxes. We all own a part of this city. If you live here and you pay taxes here, then you have a stake. You're a shareholder. You have a voice. So why don't we move forward together like shareholders? And why don't we think bigger? You know, in my opinion, this is not a time to be humble. It's not a time to be meek. This is a time to be bold. We have the opportunity, given the funds that are available, given the funds that I'm certain will be available, we have an opportunity to do something great if we can all pull in the same direction.
Well, and then we all have a part in shaping what the city is going forward.
Of course.
For the future of our kids and grandkids. And
but we're just borrowing it. You know, we're here for a short time. And for those of us who sit on the council, we may sit on the council for 2 years. We may sit for 10 years. But it's a short time when you look at the life of a city and the people who have come before us, people who will come after us. So it's important to, you know, to keep that in mind, that these are decisions that are going to shape the city for years. But like I said, my comments at last night's council meeting were just about, look, I'm ready to move forward.
Ready.
And I've been waiting, you know, I've been waiting to see if anyone else started these discussions, and we hadn't had them yet. So we had them last night, and it was all generally very positive.
I thought so. I
Yeah.
was listening and
Of course, I just want to go quickly.
Right. Well,
But that's my deal
that's how
because,
you
you know, I mean, I have spoken directly to the governor about what the future might look like and what funds might be available. I've spoken to Peter Welch. I've spoken to Congresswoman Balint. Spoken to other members of the council. Spoken to folks at Downstreet. Spoken to folks at Capstone about, look, we can be big. Let's go big. Let's not, you know, buy a few houses with the buyout program and call it good. I want to go big.
Sounds good to me. Do you,
I get all fired up. I'm sorry.
Do you know where they stand at the grant money with the challenge that you gave?
Well, I accepted a $10,000 check. I went up to the Lions Club meeting immediately preceding the council meeting at 5:30, and they generously gave a donation of $10,000. Look, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
You know, Barry's not.
Yeah,
Barry doesn't disappoint.
another
I mean,
big
we're
nudge
hard
forward.
workers, and one thing I've always said about Barry, and especially when I served as mayor, I was very active in the Mayor's Coalition. And I would talk to other mayors about fundraising in their communities. And it always struck me how generous, two things struck me. Number one, how generous Barry was. It was not difficult to raise $5,000 or $10,000 in Barry if the cause was right, if it was a good cause. And also how folks who really shouldn't be donating, who may not quite have the means, donated anyway. And honestly, their $5 and their $10 means a lot more to me when you look at the sentiment and you look at the means of the person giving. Those types of donations mean a lot more than a $1,000 donation. So, yeah.
Well, and you did have the big, the event at Pearl Street.
That was awesome.
That seemed
went down, and
Um,
I was running the sweeper after that event. I had planned on taking the sweeper out and getting some sweeping done. So I couldn't, you know, so I
think
stopped
you're-
at 2.
I think you're liking that machine.
I am
a
loving
lot.
that. Oh,
You bought a better one.
I just bought a bigger one, yeah.
Good.
So now we'll
Gracious
have
Lord.
two.
You'll be out and
It's
about. You'll have Karen driving one. You driving the other.
No, Alex would. He
would?
he
Jump
likes
right in
running
it?
equipment. Oh, he'd do it in a heartbeat. He already has. No, I showed him how to run it, and it's not an uncomplicated machine. There's a lot to think about, but it's really cool. It has cameras in back, so you don't have a rear view mirror.
See
You
what
actually have a
you're doing.
camera. Yeah, like your car.
Yeah.
So you can see what you're doing because sometimes you got to run it in reverse. So, yeah, I'm having fun with it.
Are there still a lot of parking lots?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, Sue Minter over at Capstone, I promised to do her parking lot, but right now the railroad has sort of invaded them. So they're taking up a bunch of space in their parking lot. So I think the railroad's probably going to pull out in about a week. And I promised Sue that I'd get over. And, for a lot of folks, that's sort of what's left. And, do I like running the sweeper? It's cool for about the first hour. After about 5 hours, not so much. But the important thing is just getting back to normal. And when you've got, when you're walking through an inch of dirt in your parking lot, it's hard to feel normal. Yeah. So to me, it certainly isn't the last step, but it's an important step. And there is so much dirt and silt. Holy, somebody's missing a town. Right. Okay, because
we are half a town.
No, our town is intact, but we got somebody else's dirt, and it's incredible to me how much dirt is out there.
Jen Lawrence says fun. She wants a sweeper. Yeah.
I'll sweep. Just message me. I'll sweep your parking lot. It may take a few weeks to get to it because I can only do it like nights and weekends, and when it's available. But I'd be happy to.
What about can we move to the south end for a minute and talk about West Patterson? That seems to be a huge topic, and is that mostly because of mudslide worry?
Absolutely, unstable ground, and like sometimes people will. I mean, I've walked West Patterson several times, and my first inclination was, okay, dump a few loads of fill, pack it down, tamp it, and you're good to go. Well, what if you're not? You really need to depend on professionals. The state does not have like a bunch of geologists running around who can assess the stability of that type of road. So we've brought in some geologists. They're on loan from the federal government, and we're assessing the soils and assessing the slope, and we have to make sure it's safe. I don't want somebody's child driving their car off a cliff because we made the wrong call. So it's going to take time. I apologize. The one thing I did mention last night at the council meeting, the South Main, Air Street, and Hill Street intersection, that traffic light needs some serious help.
Yeah, it does.
It's awful.
It is.
It is because, I mean, I go that way every day, and, you look for pedestrians, you try to drive carefully, but you'll sit at that light, and the Air Street light goes green, but nobody's there.
Right.
So that takes 30 seconds.
Right.
And then the walk signal goes, and you're looking around, and there's no one waiting to cross.
Right.
So I know some of the sensors are faulty, but, we're going to have to, if we're going to have to rely on Air Street as the sole means of ingress and egress, then because even if you take sort of the back streets and you end up by Ruthier's and you're making that left-hand turn, that's not an easy even though a lot of people go that way now. If you double or triple the traffic, it's going to be a problem and somebody's going to get hurt. There's a lot going on at that intersection. So, I'm sorry. I wish we could open West Patterson tomorrow. I am, if it can be fixed, if it can be made safe, then that's going to be my direction. So the folks who are saying, just block it off and never look at it again. No. If you've lived here for years, you understand that's an important means of egress from the high school. So we'll see, but we got to, some decisions take time and you got to get them right, like the North End.
Right.
I want to move quickly, but I want to move really thoughtfully, and I don't want to get bogged down in the weeds. I want to make good, thoughtful decisions. I want to hear from people. I want to hear their input, but I want to be bold and I want to move forward.
Yeah. I think everybody does, especially right now. I know that there is a survey going out. I don't know if you have seen it or not, but there's a survey that quite a few people on the North End have weighed in on as far as needs, current needs in
Yeah.
the city, what they need. And I was actually a little bit shocked by it, I guess,
Why?
when you're talking about what people need and you're thinking they don't have homes, they don't necessarily have a safe space to be, and they're trying to figure out what they're going to do and where they're going to be. The two top things for needs are shoes and underwear.
Yeah. Yeah. More
They just
basic
want
needs.
clean shoes
Yeah.
to wear because there's either have none or they're sick of their mud-filled packed
Yep.
shoes.
So we've already started working on that.
Mhm.
You know, honestly, none of this makes me feel good.
No.
But when I look at those responses, I mean, first of all, you're like, you know, you idiot, why didn't you think of this before? But that's something we can fix, and that's something we can fix quickly.
Right.
That's, you know, but no, so that's exactly why we need to start having these meetings and discussions and inviting people to engage and do more than one, you know, because it may be Sunday at 6, but someone has to bring, you know, their child to an appointment at Sunday at 6 and they can't make it. So I want to have more than one so that everyone has an opportunity to be heard. But those are the types of problems we can fix, but
Right.
we have to drill down
In
a
the
little
short term.
Yes, but we
and-
have to drill down a little deeper.
Yeah, and the short term is going to help give maybe the stamina for the long term. It's just
Exactly.
that little bit of hope and that little bit of security in that. And
Yeah.
but I was surprised that people weren't saying like, you know, a house or a bed or it just was a little bit shocking to know that really it comes to the little things first that mattered the most. And I didn't expect that out of that at all. But quite a few people have chimed in.
Yes.
So we'll have to get you the link if you haven't seen it.
I
so
have
that
seen
you
it.
Can,
Yeah.
You can
I haven't
look
seen
through it and-
I've seen some of the results. I haven't seen all of them because people are still weighing in.
Yeah, and so it's pretty cool that it's out there. I don't know who started it, but thank you for doing that. And
Yeah.
I don't know what else we have going on.
What
Do
else?
you?
We have a lot going on.
I know.
You know, but it's really there's a lot going on, but there's a lot more that needs to be going on. Like I said, I'm really thrilled. The council totally embraced the idea that, hey, we've got to get going on these meetings and we've got to give people. I want to hear from people. Even though, you know, I'll walk the North End and walk some of the streets, there are a lot of homes that aren't occupied. So you can't talk to people.
Right, you can't talk to anybody.
The one thing that makes me proud is I have talked to a lot of folks who are tenants in buildings, and you know, I'll ask them, well, what do you need? There are still many, many people without heat and hot water. But when I ask them, how's your landlord been? How has your landlord been responding and helping you? Universally across the board, people have said great. And so thank you. You know, to the landlords who are out there really working hard, trying to take care of their tenants, living up to their responsibilities. Thank you. You know, that's a really important part
And
of recovery.
for the most part, I think I've heard the same thing, that landlords have really stepped up and done what
that
they need
they're
to do.
working hard, and even the tenants who don't have heat and hot water, they say, look, I know what's going on. I know what my landlord is waiting for. I know I've spoken directly to the plumber. The landlord calls me every day to check on me. So, you know, that makes you feel good that people are stepping up and accepting their responsibility and understanding that you really got to try to help people.
And Carol did go through the water bill abatement
Yep.
a little bit last night.
Yeah, we had
too.
52
That's
so far.
figured out.
Yeah, and if, you know, we're trying hard not to miss anyone, We've got a lot of work ahead of us. We've got a lot of work ahead of us with property tax abatements. There are homes that are affected, and if a home cannot be occupied, we're going to have to abate the taxes. My suggestion is that we do that on a quarter-by-quarter basis, rather than say, okay, they're abated until we let you know. It's important that, and that's going to benefit in a couple of ways. It is important that we act quickly and that we get the first quarter property taxes abated. If we don't get to it for a month, people don't need to freak out. And I have told people, if your home is not able to be occupied and you're having to pay for another home, I wouldn't consider your property taxes that are due on October 2nd a priority for you. So if you don't pay them and then we send you a bill with penalty and interest, don't freak out. When we get to that process, we abate the penalty and interest as well. Yeah, so, we hear you, and we're going to get to you. We're simply prioritizing, which is a good segue into the discussion. I also want to have a discussion. I want to have a council level discussion about what our general fund is going to look like this year. A number of weeks ago, I started talking about what I was seeing when and I spent over a decade working with the city budget and still do. And as I looked at the budget, looked at the potential effect, I started using the phrase, 7 figures. 7 figures meaning $1 million. I'm way over that now. And the number that I kind of threw out there last night, and some of it is just anecdotal. Some of it is looking at our overall property tax collections and trying to scratch my head a little bit and figure, okay, how many properties have been affected, what percentage, that is of our property tax revenue. So the number I kind of threw out last night was $2.5 million. What I see is a very real possibility that we could be looking at a $2.5 million deficit this year. We have money, don't worry. The city isn't going broke. We have borrowing capacity. But at a certain point, you got to retire that deficit. So I want to start having that conversation as well. I mean, we're going to have a lot on our plate. We're going to have a lot of balls in the air.
Yeah.
But we have to buckle down. We got to work hard, and we got to start discussing these issues so that we can plot a path forward. We're not going to be able to tax our way out of a $2.5 million deficit. We're going to have to bond on some level. There could be a supplemental budget adjustment act coming out of Washington, so maybe that money would help. There's just a lot going on, but we got to start talking about it so it's not, you start talking about things and, so we're kind of dipping our toe in the water. And when the decisions really present themselves, we're used to having the discussion. That's really important.
I believe somebody's asking a question about tenant and landlord assistance. I believe there is something for both.
Yes.
If you are a tenant and you need help to relocate, and if you're a landlord that suddenly is without all that rental income.
Well, thank you. That is a really important question because I might have forgotten. We mentioned briefly September 12th, that being the last day to apply for FEMA assistance. FEMA assistance is available to renters. A lot of people think, well, if I don't own a home, I can't get money from FEMA. Please, please, please make sure you only have until September 12th to apply for FEMA assistance. If you go in on the 13th, even if you say, I was in the hospital, I was hit by a car, it doesn't matter. That is such a hard date. There are no exceptions. So FEMA is right up at the Barre Auditorium. I actually asked the manager last night if we could arrange to have FEMA literally take a van and go neighborhood to neighborhood and park, so that, but it is, as I look at the numbers, as I look at the number of people who have applied for FEMA assistance throughout Washington County, and then I kind of relate that number back to Barre, it strikes me that a lot of people aren't applying. I think there's a lot of people. I don't know why.
No, I've met people that haven't.
And that terrifies me
yeah.
because, literally you can get a check almost instantly for exactly that. For spoiled food, for rent that you had to pay, for relocation assistance, for personal possessions you lost. They're there to help you, but if you don't, and I get it. A lot of people don't like filling out forms. I don't like filling out forms. Please don't be intimidated. They're great people. They're there to help you.
Yeah. And there are a lot of people that thought that they couldn't or didn't qualify for one reason or another, so they just didn't go.
Look, the SBA is, even if you think, well, I don't qualify for the SBA. I'm a landlord. I'm not a small business. I'm not really a small business. I'm a landlord. Ask everyone you can for help. The worst thing they can do is say no. They're not going to say no. FEMA is not going to say no. They're going to take your information. The Barre Community Relief Fund that you mentioned earlier, there are grant applications there. We know that even though we will likely raise close to $1 million for that fund, we know that's not going to be enough, but it's something, and we can help. So that's always my biggest concern, is that people, and I even saw it, the same feeling I had during the pandemic, when business owners would call me and crying, because they're kind of on their last breath, and I'd be like, well, this you've got a payroll protection is available. You didn't do that. Well, my friend said I wouldn't qualify. And we would quickly fill out the forms, and they would, get $25,000 or $50,000. Even now, we're looking at businesses with the ERTC, the Employee Retention Tax Credit, totally unrelated to the flood. But we have sought out a couple of businesses where I know they didn't apply, and I don't understand why. And it gave me a little bit of incentive to say, well, why didn't you apply for this? Now we're getting them applied, and we're finding out that they qualify for a $50,000 ERTC refund.
Which really helps right now.
Which they can use for anything. But ask, please. I mean, that's always my biggest concern, is that when I run into someone and I talk to them about FEMA and they don't understand it, they don't know it, and you just point them to, just please go to the auditorium.
Right.
And just say, I need help. That's all you got to say.
Right.
And they'll do the rest. They will help you fill out the forms.
Yeah. It's pretty easy process. I know that JD went and did it, but he didn't go until just last week.
Yep.
And because I kept saying, you need to go, you need to go, you need to go. And finally he went, and he was actually surprised at how easy it was and what he needed to do and how helpful they were.
You really need to get him, next time he's on the air, get him to talk about that experience, like literally step by step. Here's why I didn't. Here's what happened when I did. Here's the questions they asked me, and here's the end result, if he wouldn't mind.
And pretty much because somebody told him he wouldn't qualify. And so he just didn't go, and then he learned very differently when he was there.
And there's all kinds of experts, self-professed experts, who say, you will or won't qualify. All I'm saying is, if you don't go, I can guarantee you don't qualify.
Yeah.
Because you didn't go.
Yeah. And so at least get up there and get it figured out.
It's complex, but they're right there at the auditorium, and they're there to help. That's why they're there.
And like you said, there's a lot of grants. There's a lot of different grants, and so people should apply for everything, and hopefully you'll get some sort of assistance.
Yeah, I mean, Efficiency Vermont, $39 million available, and even if you're a tenant, it's only for certain things. But let's say you're a tenant who had an air purifier. And your air you had it in your apartment, and you lost it. Efficiency Vermont has $39 million. They will give you money to buy a new one. There's all these programs out there, and I know, I get it. I get how overwhelmed. I get how overwhelmed. I mean, my phone rings all day, and for the past 4 weeks, it's been extremely busy. I have to make decisions every day, and I make 5 or 6 big decisions every day, but I keep making those decisions, and I keep moving forward. I understand that people, I worry about the mental health of people at times. This has been, even for me, it's been pretty stressful. But I have a lot of support, and we keep moving forward. I worry a lot about people who are just silent and paralyzed, and they're not really moving forward on any level. They're in a home that isn't safe, because, hey, it's home. And, we all saw the fog this morning. The fog was hanging about 5 feet off the ground. What does that mean?
Right.
It's going to get cold pretty quick.
Soon.
In another month. And so those are the things I worry about. So I'm just hoping that people are, if they need help, please reach out to somebody. Call the city clerk. Call Carol Dawes. She's got the biggest heart of anybody in the world.
She does.
And she will point you in the right direction.
In a new song coming up, I heard.
Yeah.
Last night.
That is awesome. Oh, the last one.
Yep.
I know.
I know.
Although I
heard
talked to
you
her last night,
begging her not to leave.
Yeah, I had to let her know that I'm sorry, but retirement is no longer an option for her. She's gotta stay, and I'm not kidding. Carol has to stay on some level. She can take a few months. Carol is a great poker player, by the way. I can't play poker against Carol because I'll lose my house. I'm like, Carol, go play poker for 3 months. Go whatever you got to do. Go have some fun. You've been through a lot, and she's going through a lot. And but I told her, I said, please, and I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. She has to come back and serve the city on some level.
And she said she would. She said
I know she
that
will.
she plans to. And I mean, her heart can't do it either. I mean, I'm sure. This is like her baby.
No. She
like
has
now.
more love for this city than most people I know. So, yeah. So Carol, and so she did agree that she's going to be coming back on some level. And she said, I've already started talking to the manager about it. And I said, please make those discussions go faster, and then there'll be one less
Just
thing
so
that I have to
everybody
think
knows.
about at night.
Right, everybody knows. And yes, and Patty, that's what we were just talking about. She says there were homeowners on Berlin Street who lost everything in their basements, and they've applied for FEMA and they were denied. But there are also many other options. There's many other grants that you can apply for, and people that you can talk to, and if you need help with that, where do you go besides the auditorium?
Look, there are
the city clerk, or
absolutely,
absolutely.
If your home has been damaged and devalued, you can look for a property tax abatement that will provide you with some relief. You're not paying those property taxes. The Barre Community Relief Fund. We have money. The grant portal is open. So, there are a lot. Efficiency Vermont will help homeowners replace their furnace with a more efficient furnace.
And I believe the National Life Do Good Fest.
Yes.
You can apply for that as well.
So it's daunting, like I said. I wish, and this is something I tried to start up a while, I wish there was a one-stop shop where someone could go. But the problem is there are so many people who are trying to help that it can be a little complex. It can be a little daunting. And even if you ask me specifically about, okay, Thom, name all the programs. I can't.
Yeah, I can't either. I have to look.
I can refer to my list and I can go through all the programs. So it's complex. It is absolutely complex. But
there is help out there, and
there's a lot of help. There are tens of millions of dollars out there, hundreds of millions of dollars out there, and we'll get there. I mean, we're going to keep working hard.
One day at a time. We'll do. Everybody.
So, any other questions this morning? Or?
That's it that I can see so far. We have some comments, but
what are the comments? Shut up and go away.
Run for mayor, Thom.
Oh, jeez, Louise.
Yeah, we have those.
Good time.
Yeah, we have
in
those.
Good time. Look, we've got. This isn't the time to be focusing on races. This is the time to be helping our neighbors and.
The race to the finish line of getting this stuff under control and people safe for the winter.
That's one of my biggest
warm for the winter
concerns. Yeah.
Well, you've said that right from the get-go that you worry about.
Yeah, I'm feeling
ordering their furnaces and getting things.
I'm feeling better about it, but I'm not feeling good about it yet. It's data. I'm always data driven. So here's what keeps me up at night. 363 or so affected homes or affected structures, representing 517 dwelling units. We anticipate approximately 50 of those will be a total loss, will be condemned, red tagged. Well, okay, that still leaves 450 dwelling units. And what I can't get good information on, it's not anybody's fault. Everybody's working hard. The information simply isn't available as you triage this stuff. What's the condition of those other 450? How many don't have a furnace? How many don't have a hot water heater? How many don't have power? How many don't have all of the above? And that's why I think these meetings are important, because somehow we've really got we've got to get a good handle on the scope of the problem. You can't fix a problem if you don't understand the problem.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Did you happen to hear that Cornerstone Pub and Kitchen is opening tonight?
I own the building, Raylene.
Yeah. Rich wants to know. Rich McSheffrey wants to know.
Oh, Rich McSheffrey wants to know?
Yeah.
I did happen to hear that. I love Rich. I love Rebecca.
Yeah, today. They opened today.
Listen,
yeah,
we've been through a lot. Rich and Rebecca have been through a lot. His team has been through a lot.
Yes.
But, sure. I love you, Rich. You never stopped moving forward. Yeah. And Rich and I had some pretty intense conversations because there was a lot of stress in the beginning.
Oh, I'm sure.
But there was never, when I just looked at Rich 2 days after this thing, and I said, Rich, are you all in? And he looked at me and said, fucking A.
Of course, right.
Well, of course, that's what he said.
And
I said, then so are we. And we're going to do this. I don't know how we're going to do it. I don't know what it looks like. But we're going to do it. And we did, with the help of so many people. Rich, thank you, by the way, for that post yesterday, Rich, where he just went down and thanked everyone.
Yes.
It took a village. But more importantly, Rich could have quit. He could have just said, sorry, that was my last rodeo. And he didn't. And I think that says it all. Rich and so many others could have quit. And that was, Raylene, really a turning point for me a few days after the flood, when I talked to Rich and talked to all of the tenants at Metro Way who were mucking out their spaces, hosing out equipment, 2 feet of mud, and not one of them quit. And we gave them the opportunity. We gave those tenants the opportunity and said, look, if you're just done, I understand. And every single one of them said, no, we're not done. And they put their flag in the mud and refused to quit and move forward.
Kept going.
So, that's the stuff that inspires me. That, I will do my share. If I have to, I'll do a little bit more than my share. But what's really important to me and what's so inspiring to me is when people refuse to quit. It's easy to be a victim.
Yep.
It's easy to curl up on the couch and say, poor me, and, and honestly, if Rich or others had quit, nobody would have really blamed them. We would have said, okay, we get it, we understand. But, he didn't quit on Barre. They haven't quit on Barre. So I'm not going to quit on Barre. We're going to get through this. We're going to be okay.
Definitely a lot of people have chose to fight on and keep going, and it is good to see it. That's part of what makes me super proud.
I dropped the F-bomb on your show. Probably shouldn't have done that.
That's
actually,
right.
Rich McSheffrey dropped the F-bomb on your show.
You were just reiterating. You didn't. It wasn't you, Tom. I do it almost on daily. So I tried my hardest not to, but it just comes out.
Yeah,
I can't help it.
So we're proud of everybody. I'm very proud of how we responded. I'm proud of how people are stepping up. But this is going to be a marathon. This is not going to be easy. It's going to be a hard road. We are not going to be victims. I want the city to be bold when we look at housing and we look at the North End and we look at any area. I want to be bold, and I don't want to be humble. I don't want to be meek. I want to put our flag in the ground and say, this is our city, and we're going to build back better.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. So we will see you all tomorrow. I'm not even sure. Oh, tomorrow, the ladies from the Ladies Ride for Breast Cancer are coming in to be with me in the morning. No JD again tomorrow. He's out doing some stuff, spending some time with family before school starts.
Nice.
So, which is right around the corner, as we all know. So tomorrow I will meet with them. And before I go, I have to send a huge thank you, though, to the team over at Enough Ministries for all they do and for continuing every day to do whatever and they possibly can to provide for the community and to hold people up and feeding people and clothing people and transportation and all of the organization and stuff that you're all doing. And big thank you to you. And I can't imagine doing all of this without you and your help. And just want you to know that you're appreciated. So thanks all. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow.